After some recent messages that have been posted online, there is now some serious speculation amongst a portion of the fan base about a return for a former fan favorite center to the Toronto Raptors that has only been heightened with the Raptors' lack of depth now at the center position. So we'll dive into that, including some important updates heading into tonight's pivotal game for this season against the Milwaukee Bucks, where the Raptors are facing up once again against an upper echelon team in the NBA that has a premier big man, where the Raptors front court will be put to the test. But that's going to be the theme of this video in this one, because the front court is something everything has been calling for. We look at the Raptors' current depth chart and things that are, we're looking at. And yes, Immanuel Quickley has been great. CMB has been great, but those guys are power forwards. And with Jakob Poeltl dealing with injuries to start off the season, people are looking for insurance at the big man spot. So that has led these recent posts and messages to get some people fairly fired up about a return of a fan favorite center, and that specifically is Serge Ibaka, who posted a few things as of late. So I'll break down the first one first, as Serge Ibaka basically posted on his Twitter or Instagram there that essentially at NBA comeback locked in, and it shows a picture of him working out. Now, of course, the Raptors' lack of depth at the center spot, his relationship with the team, and some of the pictures have been posted as of late, because essentially, if we take a look at it, Serge Ibaka posted this, training in the Toronto Raptors gym facility over the course of the past couple of months. This is a picture that ended up coming out over the summer, and we also saw him training with the Raptors big men Jamal Shead before he ended up getting cut from the roster due to the health issues that he is currently dealing with. So Serge Ibaka, if he's looking for an NBA return, of course, his roots, his deepest, I'd argue his best seasons were with the Toronto Raptors. He won a championship with the Toronto Raptors and still has that relationship there. So given the fact that he's training with the team as of late, not his former other teams or anything like that, gives it a lot of people looking, hey, is this going to be the squad that the Toronto Raptors end up bringing back? Well, the real question is, can Serge Ibaka still go? Because, Serge is a guy that is currently 36 years old. So despite being out of the league for a couple years, he is not that crazy of an age. He's not 45 or something along those lines. Serge Ibaka is 36 years old. So that's still an age where there's a bit of juice left. He's 6'11", 235, and he played power forward for a stretch of his career. With the Raptors, he was a center. Basically, since the championship run 2019, he is a center, a big man that can protect the rim and block shots. And his last season in the NBA, he didn't have the crazy stat line, only averaging 4 points per game for the Milwaukee Bucks, only playing 11 minutes per night. However, I remember that season clearly, directly, and of course, I'm not watching every single Milwaukee Bucks game. I'm watching the Toronto Raptors, but I got a couple Bucks fans in my life that were saying, hey, Serge Ibaka still got the juice. I don't know why they're not playing him. He's better than Brook Lopez, who was injured for that year, but the Bucks just decided not to play him. Now, that was the argument of one fan. Of course, that was legitimately the case. Some team would have picked him up and he wouldn't be out of the league for those couple of years. In Europe, we can take a look at his stats, what he's been doing, 24-25, season 23-24, and it hasn't been that, brain bending in terms of what he's able to put out. About 6.6 points per game in his most recent season, 3.1 rebounds, shooting the three ball 36% at that rate, 60% from the free throw line, which is interesting. Not a great sample size there, but 1.1 blocks per night. And this has led enough people to say, hey, he's not going to come out and be dominant. He's not going to be the Serge Ibaka that we remember, from those championship runs, those championship eras. Serge Ibaka is definitely going to be old, washed, and all that type of stuff. But in terms of a holdover guy that can still protect the rim, can at least move around a little bit at the center spot, and most importantly, just be a big man to throw out there in the paint, would he be a good insurance guy to have out there on the roster at a league minimum? We have that open roster spot. I mean, we're paying Garrett Temple out there in that position. Just get one of those veteran players. So if you are dealing with a ton of injuries, a body that you can throw in, have some size, and have the IQ that's high enough to actually run the defensive schemes that we're trying to do. Is this the right move? Does this make sense? Is this something that we can actually expect for the Toronto Raptors? Personally, while there are signs, and if Serge Ibaka does make an NBA return, like he's been working the gym, he's back, he's magically recovered from injuries, whatever it is, then I'd say the Raptors are the most likely team in the NBA, but I think there are a lot more higher upside prospects that the Raptors can look at with that final roster spot if we are looking for center depth than Serge Ibaka. And some of them might be risks or whatever, but for the end of the bench position, I think a guy like Bol, man, that's the dude that I've been pretty adamant I'd like to see out the Raptors give a chance to if you're not going to be making trades. Of course, trades, spice things up and shake things, the roster in a fairly easy way. But Bol is a guy that, just last season averaged 6.8 points per game, in only 12 minutes per night, 0.7 blocks, got some rebounds, able to space the floor, and of course is, 11 years younger. And Serge Ibaka, while he is 36 years old, so that's an age that's not over the hill, even though he's at he did look like he wasn't moving at that elite rate. His athleticism that he relied upon for a large chunk of his career did fall off in the back half of his NBA season. So even though he's 36, just from the eye test, it looks a little bit older, and then it is what it is. So I'd personally be interested in giving a guy like Bol or one of these random free agents a shot before Serge Ibaka, even though Serge Ibaka is one of my favorite players in Toronto Raptors history, and I would not be up in arms if we end up giving him a contract. So let me know what you guys think about Serge Ibaka returning, but we do have some updates in regards to Toronto Raptors starting center, as news has come out that Jakob Poeltl, whose back was injured, was a full participant in practice today, referring to yesterday, and is questionable for tonight's game against the Milwaukee Bucks. So Jakob Poeltl, that's good news that he was a full participant out there in practice. Once you're a full participant, it usually indicates you're going to be full participant out there in the games as well. So I'd expect Jakob Poeltl to play tonight. Of course, Yak has looked brutal to start off this season in terms of his health and stuff like that. Some people are called for the Raptors to just leave CMB in the starting lineup. Some people, trade Jakob Poeltl stuff. Jakob Poeltl was phenomenal for the Toronto Raptors last season. He was one of our most important players in terms of winning, in terms of executing out there on the court. His presence has been felt with being missing, and I'm counting the first few games of the season him being missing because he's just moving so horribly with those back issues. If Jakob Poeltl is back, is healthy, I'm really excited to see how this group is going to look because, CMB and Mamukel really can hold it down as the backups. Without a healthy Jakob Poeltl, our team is very, very thin in that position. And we're going up against the Milwaukee Bucks tonight, who have been really good this season. They're currently third in the Eastern Conference. They're 5-2. They've won a couple games this year, beating the Golden State Warriors, the Knicks, which are impressive wins. They did lose the Sacramento Kings in a close one, and they just barely edged out the Indiana Pacers. So this is a very winnable game for the Toronto Raptors. Of course, you're facing up against Giannis Antetokounmpo, who ate your lunch in the last performance and stuff like that. Giannis has been on an absolute tear, averaging 34 points per game, 13.3 rebounds, 7 assists so far, 1 steal, 1 block this season. Giannis is a beast, but Ryan Rollins has also stepped up at the guard spot. We saw Cole Anthony dominate the Raptors in Game 1. Immanuel Quickley has to be better than he was in Game 1 against the Milwaukee Bucks this season at the point of attack defensively, especially where Ryan Rollins is coming to his own out there at that point guard spot. They have Gary Trent Jr. playing well. They have AJ Green. This Bucks team, I underestimated them coming into the season. I may have been a little bit disrespectful in terms of what they can actually do out there on the basketball court, but it's a team that's been winning. They have a big man, and it's going to be, hopefully, we have a healthy Jakob Poeltl to really anchor our defense and build a wall a little bit against Giannis Antetokounmpo. But let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section down below. Use the best link as far as subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.